Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into the essential structures of modern information security. We're going to go from the absolute core principles all the way up to the battle-tested playbooks that keep organizations safe. So let's just dive right in with this question. Because real security, is so much more than just having a strong password. It's not about one single piece of technology. It's about building an entire fortress of policies, processes, and principles, all working together to protect what's most valuable. And before you can even think about building that fortress, you have to know exactly what you're trying to protect, right? What are the crown jewels? At the end of the day, all these security measures are trying to achieve just a few key goals for our information. And at the very heart of that fortress, you'll find these three core principles, famously known as the CIA triad. First, you've got confidentiality, keeping secrets secret. Then there's integrity, making sure the information is accurate and hasn't been tampered with. And finally, availability, which means you can actually get to your data when you need it. Simple, but absolutely fundamental. But, the world got a lot more complicated. The classic CIA triad is a fantastic foundation. But modern threats, well, they demand a bit more. So, enter the Parkerian hexad. It adds three more critical layers, starting with authenticity. This is all about guaranteeing that the information and its source is the real deal and not some clever fake. Next up, we have possession. Now, this one sounds pretty simple, but it's so important. It means having clear, undeniable ownership and physical control over the data itself, or the devices it lives on. Think about it. You can't really secure something if you don't actually control it. And the final piece of this hexad is utility. Because, let's be real, what good is a perfectly locked down treasure chest if the treasure inside is unusable? Utility makes sure that the information is actually in a format that's useful and valuable for what you need to do with it. Okay, so now we know what we're protecting. Let's switch gears and try to think like an attacker for a minute. How do they try to find the cracks in our fortress walls? The threat landscape is huge, but if we can understand a few key tactics, we're already on our way to building a much stronger defense. Software vulnerabilities are a massive weak point, and a classic example is something called a SQL injection. Just picture a website's login form. An attacker can actually slip malicious database commands right into the username or password fields. If the site isn't built properly, it can trick the system into coughing up a whole lot of sensitive data it should have never shared. Now, the threat can even be physical. Baked right into the silicon. Hardware Trojans are these nasty, malicious circuits that get secretly added to a chip while it's being manufactured. The scary part is they create these undetectable backdoors that can compromise a system at its most fundamental level. Then you've got the network side of things. Unsecured open ports on a server are basically the digital equivalent of unlocked doors and windows on a house. They literally let attackers peek inside, scout around to see what's running, and find an easy way to just walk right into the system. And of course, you can't forget the human element. This is the big one. Phishing attacks don't really exploit code, they exploit our trust. Through really convincing, deceptive emails or messages, attackers trick people into just handing over the keys to the kingdom. We're talking passwords, financial details, you name it. So, just knowing about all these threats isn't really enough, is it? Defending a fortress requires a real, systematic, ongoing battle plan. So let's take a look at how this defense gets built, not as a one-time project, but as a continuous cycle. And this, right here, is the blueprint. It's not a one-and-done kind of deal. It's a loop. You start by figuring out what you have, identifying your assets. Then you assess the risks. From there, you start layering on your controls. Technical things like firewalls, administrative things like security training, and physical things like locking the server room door. And the most crucial step? You continuously monitor and review everything, because the bad guys are always changing their tactics. Individual plans are good, but to operate at scale, big organizations need official playbooks. These are standardized frameworks that give you the architectural blueprints for the entire security fortress, making sure that nothing important gets left to chance. Now, there are several major playbooks to choose from, and each one has a slightly different focus. You have to pick the right one for your goals. For example, a framework like ISO 27001 is super comprehensive, all about formal controls and ownership, which is great if you need to get certified. But then you have something like the CIS controls, which is less about high-level governance and more like a prioritized to-do list that gives your tech teams immediate, actionable things they can do to improve security right now. And this quote, this is absolutely crucial.
A threat, let's say a hacker group, only becomes a risk to you when you consider two things: the probability that they'll actually attack you and the potential impact it would have on your specific assets. That's the whole game when it comes to risk assessment, figuring out which threats really matter.
Which leaves us with this final thought. Building that secure fortress isn't just about having high walls and strong gates. It's about making sure you're using the right blueprints for what you're trying to protect, all guided by a clear, intelligent, and adaptable strategy.